Shameful confession, I have always had issues with brushing my teeth. My earliest memories of trying to do so are remembering how minty toothpaste made my whole mouth burn and feel like I was going to throw up, and my family wouldn't get me kitty toothpaste until long after I had decided I wasn't going to put myself through that. I've made my strongest effort in my life to brush my teeth consistently this year, but I keep either putting it off or panicking when I do try to brush. I fear what I'm going to hear whenever I do eventually go to the dentist. Not brushing my teeth every day. I struggle with lifelong dysthymia, basically chronic mild depression, and during the COVID lockdown it got pretty bad and I'd straight up brush my teeth every other week, at best. I didn't see the point because I didn't leave my room. I forced myself to get a thorough professional clean after about a year of this and it felt amazing. I've miraculously never had a cavity, though. Not me, but my ex would always flush mid-pee. I never understood it and found it repulsive. If his pee lasted longer than the flush, he would just flush again. Whenever I would ask why he does that, he just said he's always done it. All I could think of is how much stuff would fly up on his hands and genitals. Even after showing him countless studies about what flies up when a toilet flushes, he would never stop that weird habit. I was in my late teens before I learned you're supposed to wipe front to back, not back to front. I was like, damn, and started doing it the right way. I could never get a good clean front to back. I figured I just needed practice, but I did it for 6 months and it never improved. I went back to the way I've always done it. I've never had a yeast infection or UTI. Ick how far you guys are wiping, but I don't have an issue keeping the shit out of vagina. I'm surprised to not see this here, wearing shoes inside. My family was not a shoes-off family and they always wore outside shoes inside. I remember a few friends' homes were strict shoes-off homes, but I thought that was the minority. I was about 27 years old before I realized it was disgusting and people were definitely judging my etiquette. Love to eat the crispy, crunchy white yucca flowers from my yard. I ate them for years before discovering there are tiny little white waxy worms that live in the flowers and blend in. I eat other bugs and worms and stuff, but not raw, so I started to wash them out of the flowers before I ate them. I learned the flowers are nowhere near as nutty and crunchy and delicious without the worms, so now I leave them in. Not brushing my teeth when I wake up. I would only brush my teeth after breakfast, and I would rarely eat breakfast. So most days I would only brush my teeth at night. I figured, well, I brushed last night and haven't eaten anything since, so why should I brush again? Then I learned about all the bacteria that feed on the tiny bits of food left in your teeth, and they literally expel gas and feces in your mouth as they consume it. And this is what causes awful morning breath. So I have this mental image of bacteria poop and farts coating my mouth and have brushed every morning since, regardless of eating breakfast or not. I used to really like those self-service lollies/candy buckets with the scoops. They were in most big box stores in Australia, like Kmart, Target, Big W. So much fun mixing and matching. But then one day I started working at Target. Every single day I caught old people and kids with their hands directly inside, grabbing them out and munching down all slobbery like. Turned me off forever. Though not too long after they started disappearing from businesses, so obviously someone got the unsanitary message. As a child I would dig up bits of clay from the local sandbox. It wasn't as good as Play-Doh, so I would cast it aside and continue digging. Maybe I didn't have a very good sense of smell at that age, because I was well into adulthood before I realized it was probably cat shit. As an Asian, I was always taught growing up to throw used toilet paper in the trash bin. It wasn't until I went on a school trip to Italy the chaperone mentioned to everyone the plumbing system here isn't as good as the USA, so you guys are just gonna have to throw it in the trash bin, and everyone went to you. And that's when I learned that it was gross to throw toilet paper in the trash bin, since the issue was you're basically having shit bits sitting around in a bin. As a dude, standing up to pee. Seriously, the stuff sprays everywhere. We got one of those flashlights made for highlighting pet urine on carpet, and out of curiosity, I shined around in the bathroom. It's everywhere. Gentlemen, it's really gross what we're exposing the women in our lives to. We're not talking about truck stops or rest areas, but the bathrooms of those we know and love. Sit down, it won't emasculate you. Pitting in public, on the sidewalk, streets, etc. Growing up in a smaller Texas town, spitting whenever and wherever was a common thing. It was totally acceptable to be walking down the street and just kinda spit if you felt the need to. Never really thought anything of it. I didn't realize people found spitting on sidewalks offensive until was about 30 or so. I still to this day don't understand why. I try not to do it as much anymore. But if there ain't anybody around, betcha ass I'ma spit though. Edit, it has been brought to my attention that spitting can be a factor in spreading specific diseases/viruses. After doing some quick research on it, I have found this to be factual. Moving forward, I will be even more mindful of my spitting habits. When I was a kid, I had pinworms. That's no big deal, kids have them often from playing in dirt and putting their fingers in their mouth. However, I was too embarrassed to tell my parents I had them, so I just left it alone. I had recurrent bouts of worms on and off until I was in my late teens, and then at that point I developed a serious eating disorder for unrelated reasons, and they all sort of died off because I wasn't eating, and pinworms feed on sugars in your intestines. Re-wearing a pair of socks for a few times before washing them. I didn't have very many pair and sat in a chair all day at school, so I figured they weren't dirty enough to need washing every single time I wore them. Got absolutely destroyed when I mentioned it out loud, faced with tears of joy. Definitely don't do it anymore. I always floss after every meal using floss picks. I'd grab a new one every morning and keep it in my wallet. I would use the same one all day and toss it when I grabbed a new one the next morning. Only found out when I got back to a table once during a dinner with friends. I'd excused myself to go to the bathroom stall to floss. They asked how many I carried because I always excused myself. I was confused and explained my one pick a day thing. Well, found out that's not normal. Took me over 30 years to know because I always excused myself so no one caught it.